Hi YouTube, it's me Tobot Wilderness. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the second of this month's Korean toy reviews. Now I'm filming this video directly off the back of last week's Korean toy review, where I did a small stuff review on this guy, Tobot V Mini Tachyon. I did it as a small stuff review because to be honest, I'm not very impressed with this toy because it's very basic, even for a Tobot V Mini figure. It might look decent enough, but there's a lot of engineering sort of things on it, which engineering faux pas, or like so he's got fixed arms with no elbows, he's got parts forming, he's lacking paint, all the usual stuff. I just wasn't that impressed with him, and I didn't think it was worth doing a full-blown review with him, so I did it as a small stuff review. However, this week I've got another Tobot V Mini figure, Tobot V Mini Air Hyde. Now, let's have a quick look at the packaging. There's his box. You can see there's CGI renders of the character on the back. You got his number and his name on the side. Graphics on there. Tobot logo on the top. Usual thing. And one thing I'd like to say about this figure. The big figure, when I got it, it's similar sort of packaging. You've got a cardboard box with like a clamshell, but it's got this extra piece of plastic which goes between the backpack and the torso when it's in the box. The big figure's got that as well, so that's kind of interesting. The instructions are in here. Just get them out. Yeah, it's got the usual sort of foil backing card that goes in the back. So, typical instructions for these Tobot minifigures. Single piece of glossy paper. Instructions are on one side, and there's nothing on the other side. So yeah, fairly simple, easy to follow instructions. And then we get the figure. So here he is, Air Hyde, in his alt mode. It's a Boeing 747 jumbo jet. And here is his original figure, the big one. Now this guy, the big one, I got it last year. Seriously impressed with this thing. Awesome toy, awesome figure. Got a few little nitpicks which the small figure's got as well, because of the way the thing's designed. But you don't get nearly enough, sort of like jetliners as Transformers, and this is a very successful one. I mean, it's it hasn't got much in the way of robot kibble sticking out, and it's a fairly reasonably accurate representation of a Boeing 747, even though it's not an accurately scaled model of one, but still really cool figure. And this was one of the best spots I got last year, so he lives on top of the Detolfs because he's one of my top bots from last year, so I got him. But then I decided to get the mini one and then do a direct size comparison. So if I bring that in so he scales up, and you can see the obvious thing with Tobot minifigures is the lack of paint. I mean, this guy's got all the extra blue, the blue stripes and the yellow stripes, and he's got his Tobot V logo on there. He's got bits on the tail, all that stuff. This guy has got a little bit of, he's got the cockpit window is done. He's got a blue stripe down the side, and he's got some paintwork underneath, but the rest of it is just white plastic. I mean, there's nothing on the wings, there's very little on the side. It's a shame. It's typical of these Tobot V mini figures. They don't put anywhere near as much paint as they do on the big figures, and this guy's a prime example of that. But his alt mode looks pretty good. Unfortunately, being a minifigure, he's been mauled, slightly marred by the engineering of the thing. Like the big figure has got nice smooth aerodynamic wings, whereas this one is it's covered with bumps and blemishes and blisters of the like you've got the pivots for the wings for transformation, and you've got a pegging port there. You've got screw holes there. You've got these the ball joint cups showing through the wings as well. And that's a shame. That's a shame that you have to see all that. And of course, then you go underneath, and you've got all the waffling in the wings. Now, last week when I did this guy hasn't got much waffling because the inside of his legs is all nice and solid. He's got a bit of waffling on his feet, a little bit on the inside of his thighs, a little bit on the inside of his arms. But apart from that, he's fairly decent and solid. Whereas this guy has got a lot of waffling, and when we get into robot mode, you'll see even more of it. But that's just that's just the nature of the beast. That's what these things are like. They hollow out they don't make them out of solid plastic anymore. They always try to hollow them out as much as possible to to save a bit of money in production. This one, the tail is struggling to stay pegged together, but apart from that, no QC issues as such. Underneath, he's got like moulded landing gear, which doesn't turn, it's just moulded, but at least he's got it. He's got the 4 engines. Obviously, there's no paint on the outer ones, but apart from that, it's a decent little plane, or big plane, because it's supposed to be a jumbo jet, which is, as we know, is one of the biggest aircraft ever made, or at least in passenger liners until the Airbus A380 came along. But yeah, so it's a pretty big jet in real life. But then again, you do the size comparison with the big one, and you can see, yeah, it's quite a half the size, I would say, about a 50% downscaling on the original. Anyway, so transformation on this works pretty much the same as the big one, fairly straightforward. Now you can start by unplugging the arms off the underside of the wings, like so, and then straighten them out. And then you can bring them down, and then you flip out the fists. You can then split the tail, and then you can unhook the fuselage. No, I think you have to do the nose cone first. Right, there's a little tab there. Pull that to start separating the nose cone, and it's on 2 little hinges that hinge out to the side. And then you unplug the fuselage and the wing pack and bring it up and clip that into place. You can then split the legs, like so, twizzle these things round, and then plug them in these ports on the legs to twizzle that round. Plug that into there. That's the legs done. Bring those bits forward. Then you can push you can pull the little tab there. You pull the head up, and then you swing the wing pack down, the back pack essentially, and there's a soft detent where it clips into place. Then you can just rearrange the chest pieces, and then you just fold the wings down, and there he is in his robot mode. So if you just give me a moment, I'll transform the big one for comparisons. Right, okay, so we've got the Mini, and then we got the big one. So yeah, big Air Hyde, Mini Air Hyde. So let's size them up. Now again, you look at them and there's paint apps missing, most notably around the hips and the waist. Legs look pretty close. Well, until you get to the thighs. The thighs obviously are on the minifigure. They're just unpainted grey plastic. Whereas on this they've got a lot of lining, and they've got the wheels, the landing gears all built in. Then you've got like the chrome toe key in his crotch. The toe key is there, it's moulded in, but it's not picked out in chrome paint. The arms. Now this guy's got the same issue as the big figure in terms of his engineering. The arms are attached to the backpack, like so, rather than the torso. On this figure, the torso does plug in a little better than it does on the big figure. The big figure, there's a lot of weight in the backpack, and it does, you know, fly around a bit, and it doesn't plug together that firm. This one's a little bit more successful in that regard, because the other one, it doesn't plug in very firmly. And that's my only major gripe on this figure, is the fact that, you know, the engineering on the backpack and the shoulders, the way they engineered it, it's a shame it doesn't plug in very firmly. Or they could have engineered it so that the shoulders, you know, came out the torso rather than the backpack. But apart from that, it's the only blemish on an otherwise, you know, really good figure. Same goes for this guy. It's got the same engineering on it. Does a decent job. I mean, thanks to the way he's engineered, he's got a reasonable amount of articulation, much better than that thing I reviewed last week. So it hasn't got a head rotation. Now the shoulders are on ball jointed pockets in the backpack, which offer a good range of motion. He has got a bicep swivel, and he's got an elbow that bends to more than 90 degrees. So his arms are pretty expressive. They're kind of stiff to move around, and obviously if you move them too much, you will pop the shoulder ball joint out. But he has got a decent range of motion in his arms, really good. Now, no waist joint because of the way this thing's transformed, the way this thing's engineered. Now the hips. Now the hips, backwards and forwards so far, pretty good, but they barely go out to the side. And they don't get much splay. That is until you modify it. So I've modified mine. What I've done, it's the ball. There's no clearance in the ball cup. So if I just take it off, you can see the ball cup as it's just a pure cup. But I had a go, and I've hollowed it out slightly. Don't know if you can see that. I've hollowed the ball cup out slightly and increased the range of motion on the thighs in doing so. So it's another one of those figures where a little bit of modification has improved the articulation on the figure. So yeah, I've hollowed out the cup on the ball and improved the articulation on one of his legs. I might do it to the other one. I was using some side cutters and a craft knife to hollow it out, and it's a bit crude, so I might use the Dremel next time to get a much smoother finish. But his hips aren't too bad, apart from the fact that they don't splay out very well. Now, he has got 90-degree knees, which is good, and there's nothing at the feet really. A little bit of a cut on the feet to give him a neutral A stance. The only other thing about this guy is the waffling. Now, obviously, he's got a lot of waffling, you know, on the wings, but he's also got a lot of waffling on the inside of his legs. So this guy, you know, he's got a lot of waffle going on. Then again, like I said, it's just the nature of the beast, and it's just the way he is. But he's all right. Apart from these like minor negatives that I've mentioned, he's still a decent figure, reasonably posable, especially on the arms. Even though the arms are attached to the backpack rather than the torso. Needs paint apps, as all Tobot V minifigures do. but he's half decent. He's all right, and I didn't regret buying him. You know, he's got his flaws, he's got his issues, but on the whole, he's a decent figure and a reasonable downsizing of the awesome big toy. So, yeah, that's been my review today. Tobot V Mini Air Hyde. He's a half decent figure. He's got a few flaws, but on the whole, he's pretty good. And that's been my Korean toy reviews for this month. The day I'm filming this, in fact, when this video goes live, I should be at the TF Nation Minicon in Manchester. So this video will be going out at on 9:30 on the morning of Saturday the 25th. About the time that I will be arriving, hopefully be arriving at Piccadilly Station on my train up to the TF Nation Minicon. So, I will see you there if you're going. So that's been me, TFI Wilderness. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you all next time. Ta-da.